The story starts with a French expatriate living in Kenya named Charles Monet. He goes on a trip to Katoom Cave with a friend, where it is suspected that he caught the Marburg filovirus. Monet tried to get help by going to the hospital in Kisumu, but they couldn't help him, so he went on a plane to Nairobi Hospital, where he sat in the waiting room for hours before he bled out and became unconscious. Unfortunately, when Dr. Shim Masuk took him in for the operation, he vomited in his eyes, passing the virus to him, and then died of massive hemorrhage.
When Dr. Musoki was operating on Monet, he made the big mistake of not wearing protective gear such as goggles, gloves, or a mask. As soon as Monet's black vomit hit Dr. Musoki's eyes, the Marburg virus entered him. The CDC euthanized every monkey in the Reston Monkey House. After that, a second round of monkey shipment was allowed at the Reston Monkey House. But like the first, all the monkeys also died of Ebola Reston. This time, though, this was an experiment to see how Ebola affected the society. It was a big risk because at that time, USAMRIID didn't know how dangerous that type of Ebola was. Had this virus been infectious to humans, we would have suffered a massive Ebola outbreak around the world, possibly wiping out a large mass of the human population.
This is Dr. Masuki. The fact that he is still alive today is remarkable. When Charles Monet vomited in his eyes during his operation, he just continued to work steadily. About a week later, he began showing symptoms of Marburg that included a backache and a headache. He then began to experience stomach pains, so he visited one of his doctor friends to receive medical help. Then they performed an operation on him, but his internal bleeding did not clot. Fortunately, this operation went well, and the results from his blood test confirmed he did have Marburg. He was placed in an intensive care where he was able to recover from Marburg. Some of his blood samples were sent to the United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases to be used in their experiment to continue to make scientific developments in hope of finding a vaccine.
Stokes' story was an important part of the Ebola outbreak in DC, but perhaps what was most important was the Mainga incident 4 years prior to the Mistoke incident. Nurse Mainga was a nurse at Nyainga's hospital who became infected with the Ebola Zaire virus from a Belgian nun named Sister M. Mainga spends 2 days in the city before returning to the hospital where she dies. Her blood samples are sent to the ISMARID in order to further examine the Ebola Zaire strain.
This is Peter Yarling, and he is a civilian army virologist at USAMRIID. When the monkey tissue samples from the Reston Monkey House were sent to USAMRIID, he tested it in the dark under a UV light. He placed small tears of tissue under 3 filovirus-infected blood samples. One blood sample had Ebola Sudan, another had Ebola Zaire, and the last one had the Marburg virus. The Muyinga blood sample that contained Ebola Zaire glowed, confirming that the Reston monkey tissues were similar to Ebola Zaire or had Ebola Zaire in them. After the UV light test with Peter Yarling, the Center for Disease Control in USAMRIID came to a conclusion that they had to get rid of the disease that had taken over the Reston Monkey House. They later found the disease to be named Ebola Reston. It does not affect humans, but it does affect monkeys.